We're back out to work on this little car again. Today we're doing spark plugs and coil packs, which I'm going to walk you through. This is a 2003 Toyota Camry, but it's a pretty much every modern vehicle from about that time forward. 4-cylinder is almost identical that I've seen or worked on. So stuff like your Honda Accords, Honda CR-Vs, all of the popular ones have your spark plugs down the center. Some may be a little easier to work on than others. Hondas are really tight, so you gotta be inventive to get them out. But I'll start walking you through this and show you what to do. All right, we've got our hood popped. Now we've got to take our little plastic cover off here, which this one is just held on by two little nuts here. These are 10 millimeters on this car. All you gotta do is break them free and unthread them. This one's missing one here. Again, normally you'd have to have lost one over the years. And then this one just pops. Take it on the back and lift up a little bit. Kind of jiggle and pull up at the same time. Some of these you have to take the oil cap off of, which is just unthreading that, and you can set it off to the side and pull your cover off. All right, so we're diving into the electrical system here again. So probably should take our battery terminal off. Whoops. Helps if you go the right direction with those. Just loosen that up. Take your ground off. That's the one that people normally take off. And then you're gonna wanna, set this off to the side where it's not gonna come back in contact with that. So now we're ready to go ahead and jump over here, and we'll just start with our first one. This has got a little push tab here. You gotta push down and kind of wiggle it free. There it is. So that comes off. You can just kind of push it off to the side there. We're not going to mess with it again for a few minutes. Then you get your correct size for this. This is your little coil pack. You got 4 of them on a 4-cylinder, one for each cylinder. So this is a 10 millimeter again. And it doesn't take much to get these loose either. Got your bolt out, then you can just grab this and give it a little pull. That one's got a little oil in it. You're gonna wanna set these off to the side somewhere and make sure you keep your bolt if your new ones didn't come with it. With that coil pack removed, this is what you can see. It's just a big hole there. And you see that little thing that's probed up down there? That's the top of your spark plug. That's what we got to try to get out. And you can't really see in that one, but it is shaped for a socket. If you're having a hard time finding the correct socket size, you can always check the new spark plugs that you get. That's what I just did to verify that this one will fit on it. This is a 5/8 or a 16 millimeter spark plug socket. Now we can stick it down in here. There it is. We've got pressure on it now. And you just loosen it up a little bit. Once it gets loose on the ratchet there, you can take your ratchet out and do this next little bit by hand. There we go, I just felt it break loose. And of course it's not gonna stay in my socket here. So if that happens when you're playing with it yourself, you got 2 options. You can go get a little pencil magnet like this to reach down in there and catch it, just like that. Or you can try to get a pair of needle nose pliers in there. So you can see here, that's got a lot of oil on it. There's a little seal around that, and I don't think that got replaced when I did the last valve cover. So it's leaking into my spark plug hole there a little bit. If it's doing that just to leak into that area, it's not ideal, but it won't hurt anything. Now, if it's somehow bypassing that and getting into the piston, that could be a little bit of a problem. So this old spark plug actually has a perfect reason for why we change these. This is the brand new one. That's just a protective cover on it. Take those off. And now, this little pointy bit inside of there is a part of the electrode. Electricity jumps between this piece, which they call the strap, to that electrode. And that's what ignites your fuel. You can see on this one, that electrode's wore way out. It's actually crooked in there versus a straight little point. Some of them are more of a flat. I've never seen one wore like that. And our strap looks a little burnt. These new spark plugs are supposed to come pre-gapped. That's your space between the electrode and the strap. They're supposed to be pre-gapped, but if you want to double check it, you can use a set of feeler gauges and try to math it out with those, where they make a little round tool that fits in there, and you can kind of rotate that tool to see where your gap is at. Unfortunately, I've lost mine. So here we've got these two thick straps, and that's pretty much right in the gap there. I can feel it scraping just a little bit on our feeler gauge. So after you've found the amount of these that you need to check that gap, and come in here, and that's really hard to read, there's an oil stain on it, but that's 0.024 and 0.023. So that's going to be 0.047 inches thick. And then you can look up and see what the spark plug gap is supposed to be. Well, I looked it up, and the gap on that is pretty much right where it needs to be. It might be 300 thousandths of an inch off, which is not enough for me to try to adjust that. So you can load it into your spark plug socket, and you know it's a spark plug socket if it has the little rubber gasket in there to keep it from falling out. So now, line it up in our hole here, try to drop it straight down, and start threading it in. I like to go as much as I can by hand first, just to make sure I didn't cross thread it on accident, which that's threading in quite a bit, so I don't think we have any issues. These do have a torque, according to the owner's manual, but you don't have to torque them. I mean, again, that's going to be a personal preference. If you have access to a torque wrench and can do it easy enough, which I can switch out and show you. So we've got a torque wrench set up on it. I've turned it to 13 foot-pounds, which is what was stated for it. Now, if you're using a click-style torque wrench, you got to put your hand back here, not covering that. So that little click there, oh, let's do it again. That's all it is for a torque. So that one's ready to go. We can stick our new piece back on there. Now, this new coil pack, they're not numbered. And as far as I know, there's no application that requires them to be numbered. If you worked on anything old style, you used to have to mark your spark plug wires and take those off and make sure they went back to the right hole. But I believe that is all now controlled through the computers on these. You just line your bolt up. Now we can tighten that down. Thread that down a little bit. Just snug this up. There it is. And then we're going to rehook our our wire to it here. And that's it. We've changed our coil pack and our spark plug. I'm gonna go ahead and finish these up. I'm not gonna film that for you. It's all the same process. Just do it 3 more times and then we'll fire it up and show that it runs right. Well, hopefully. Trying to go into these other holes now. I've got a little issue here because I've bought a really cheap socket. The rubber washer that's supposed to be in there is no longer doing its job, which it's supposed to hold that in so that you can turn these that way without it falling out, which is now quite the issue because I don't want to drop that into that hole. Little cheat thing that I've discovered, if you have your little pencil magnet, one with a small enough spot, you can stick it through your socket just like that, and now I can set this down in and start to twist it in. You won't be able to go very tight with it, but you should be able to get a thread or two started. That little tip there with sticking the magnet down through it is going to save you a lot of time and headache. Your other real option is to get a kind of funky looking pair of pliers like this that are double jointed, joint there and there, and hope that you can get that down in there, pinch it, and twist it. But I've used this magnet method, and it's a lot easier than trying to use these. I've finished putting my other 3 in, so we've got all 4 new plugs and new coil packs. We've reattached our battery. We're ready to try it out here. Got our garage door open, make sure we got some ventilation. We're just letting this idle down for a second, make sure it doesn't start coughing or spitting real bad. Ooh, got some smoke. That smoke cleared out. That's why I revved it several more times there, trying to watch to see if it was something else that somehow got messed up, or if it was just oil from that one burning off. That's all it was. When we took out that first spark plug, there was probably that much oil inside the little tube, and that all ran down into our cylinder. But it seems to be cleared out, running good. Our only next step is to put our little cover back on. And these, you just line up. There's little rubber tabs on the back. Try to line those up. And drop it in place. That one's good to go. Put our little cap back on it. And be sure not to touch this. That's going to be hot if you've just ran it. And that one I can feel the heat coming off of. The unofficial rule of thumb on when to change those is approximately every 100,000 miles. And that's what's suggested for those little coil packs as well. And if you shop around, you should be able to find them for a reasonable price. I think I got all of mine for about 35 bucks. That's just going to hit or miss though. Some specials, some not. You notice a change in your gas mileage. If you used to get 400 miles per tank pretty steady, and you're all the way down to 350, 300, one of your cheapest and quickest routes are going to be to change your spark plugs and see if that helps, or if you're noticing a lack of power. Now, is that going to be your magic fix for everything? No. But again, For $35, you can start there and assess from that point. It's one of your quickest, easiest ones to rule out. But hope you enjoyed. It's an easy process. We've only been doing this out here for all 4 of them, probably 35 minutes. And that was taking time to film. So hope that helps you. Hope you might consider hitting that like or subscribe button. We'll see you next time.